Okay, I missed It I Get What I Paid For's first anniversary by about a week. But don't worry, we're still gonna celebrate. We're going back to where this series began. Public domain movies! Yay! What better way to examine how far we've come than looking at how it all started?
You mean in the future?
Huh? Who said that? We've come full circle in more ways than one. Look at the end credits of Season 0, Episode 1, and you'll see a tribute to Mindy, our dog who passed away during the production of that episode. Part of the reason this episode is late is that while I was putting this script to bed, my folks went out and got this little guy. His name is Gizmo. Look, I know I promised you guys Gullivers Travels, but I'm really tired. So I think I'm going to do 4 Fleischer Brothers Superman cartoons and call it a day. Superman? Look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. One of Warner Brothers and DC Comics' most prized IPs, Superman. One that they've fought lawsuit after lawsuit to keep the creators from collecting money off of Superman. How could anything related to the Man of Steel end up in public domain, you ask? Here's the thing. These cartoons were made in 1941 by the Fleischer Brothers. These guys really wanted to compete with Disney, and they didn't cut corners, which meant they ran into financial difficulties. They wound up being bought up by Paramount. Paramount had their own financial issues in the 1960s. They didn't give two shits about any IP that they couldn't own outright. So the trademark on their Superman cartoons sort of lapsed. Superman was an active trademark, so Warner Brothers assumed that these cartoons would be covered under that umbrella. The court disagreed, so they wound up in public domain. Warner Brothers owns the physical prints of these movies. They've done some really nice restoration work on them. They look as good, if not better, than they did in 1941. If only that was what I was reviewing. My copies came packaged like this, in a CD by some unknown band called the Superheroes. I assume they formed one day, recorded all the songs in an afternoon, and disbanded 20 minutes later. To entice people to buy this collection, they put 9 of the Fleischer Brothers cartoons that had fallen into public domain on a second disc, which, in order to get at, you have to practically tear your CD case apart. If you happen to find that release of the Fleischer Brothers cartoons, all I can say is don't listen to the CD. I made that mistake, and it is complete. The only reason anyone would ever buy that collection is the same reason I did. For the cartoons. Much like the Star Trek episode, I'm only going to review 4 cartoons, not all 9. But to be extra lazy, I only have to review 2 plots. The Fleischer Brothers Superman cartoons have a pretty rigid structure. 3 of the best cartoons, and the one that's not so good, all follow the same basic formula. Step 1. Recap Superman's origin and explain the whole Superman-Clark Kent dynamic. After all, potentially any of these cartoons could be somebody's first exposure to the character. After all, these cartoons were made in 1941, a mere 3 years after Action Comics number 1. Step 2. Bad guy shows up to threaten Metropolis. Step 3. Lois goes to investigate. She's on the case no more than 2 minutes before she gets captured. Step 4. Clark claims to go file the story, but he's really looking for a phone booth so he can change into Superman. Step 5. Superman saves the day, causing lots of fully animated comic book mayhem. Step 6. Lois steals the first page, and Clark just winks to the camera. Really, Clark never seems to get anything on the front page. It makes you wonder why Perry White even keeps him around. Then again, they're pretty progressive for 1941. You would expect Perry to take Lois' notes and give them to Clark to write. And by write, I mean read them aloud for Lois to dictate, and then slap Clark's byline on it. The plots of these cartoons got really repetitive, but nobody, and I mean nobody, was watching them for story. People watched them for how beautiful they are. This was 1941. There isn't a single CGI shot in this entire cartoon. All those action scenes, every punch, every kick, all that flying was fucking rotoscoped. That's where they take an actual photo and they trace each and every frame. This makes each and every cartoon look spectacular. And speaking of looking spectacular, Fleischer vs. Lois is the epitome of 1940s sexy. Of the cartoons on this disc, one of them doesn't follow that same plot. Terror on the Midway, and that one is sort of the beginning of the end. Oh sure, Paramount did 8 more Superman cartoons after this. It was without the Fleischer's involvement, and there's a real drop in animation quality. Not only that, a lot of the cartoons made under Paramount's control were problematic. Terror on the Midway is weird as fuck, but I have one nice thing to say about it. The opening has both Lois and Clark at the circus doing stories for the Daily Planet. They banter back and forth. This doesn't feel like a 1940s Superman story. If anything, it's more akin to the relationship they would have in the 1970s Richard Donner movies, or early episodes of Lois and Clark back when it was still will they, won't they. We see the typical type of circus acts, acrobats, clowns, elephants, and this being my show and a public domain movie, there's always some kind of monkey, or chimp, or gorilla. Please don't be, no, not an ape. The ape escapes, of course, and Clark goes to file the story, and then Superman shows up to save the day, so it doesn't get that far away from the standard formula. Look at those background characters. The clowns, the acrobats, the elephants, the crowd. Anyone who isn't Lois, Clark, Superman, or the ape all look like they come from a standard Fleischer Brothers cartoon. The problem is, the ordinary everyday Fleischer Brothers cartoon is Betty Boop or Popeye. Unique and amazing cartoons in their own right, but their styles just don't mesh. Why did they have to do that? I'll tell you why. Rotoscoping ain't cheap. Each one of these Superman cartoons is estimated to have cost about $50,000. In 1940s money, so if you adjust for inflation, that's about $9 million, or roughly $1 million a minute. It's no wonder that Fleischer Brothers went out of business shortly after this cartoon was made. Overall, would I recommend the Fleischer Brothers Superman cartoon? Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's... Yes! And now, nap time.
Sweet dreams.
Huh? Who said that? Never mind. Is that still recording? Why was I sleeping in a chair? I don't even remember sitting in a chair. What the hell is going on?
We are containing a dangerous threat to our city.
Threat? City? This is my basement.
Bullshit.
Okay, my parents' basement, but you look familiar. Aren't you Ralph? One of my favorite toys from when I was 3 years old?
That's right, I was.
Didn't my cousins steal you when they were babies?
Hid, not stolen. But I am Ralph no more. I am King Detritus. Any who pass through this land must take the challenge.
Challenge? What challenge?
They must watch a video of this holy DVD set.
Just let me get out of these trains and I'll take a look.
I guard the holy films!
Don't mind the palace guard. He's a bit overzealous.
Let's see what's on your holy DVD, shall we? The borrowers and 7 bonus films. Oh no, the more movies you try to pack on one of these sets, the worse each individual movie is. You want me to pick something off of that? Inconceivable!
Are you mocking me?
Let's see what else is on here, shall we? You got David Copperfield, Mark Twain's Roughing It, Gullivers Travels. That's the one I said I was going to watch, but didn't.
An honorable man would keep his promise.
No. Oh, alright. The movie begins with Gulliver narrating how he set sail during a storm. He washed up on this island without even a volleyball to keep him company. One good thing I can say about this movie is that the animation looks gorgeous. If you took the time to restore it, which somebody has, it could look comparable to a Disney movie of the period. I got my copy at Dollar Tree. What do you think my chances are of getting that edition? That's right, my print is scuzzy and faded, like Bigfoot's home movies. It's not as in bad shape as the copy that my college TV station used to air late at night, but it's not as good as it could be. Speaking of late at night, Gabby the town crier is out on patrol. With that weird bulbous head, the red hair, that hat the animators sometimes remember he has, he looks sort of like a fat Lucky the Leprechaun. At first he doesn't notice anything amiss. Not even the giant napping in the sands. He is literally climbing over Gulliver before he notices a damn thing. And once he does, he runs off screaming, "There's a giant on the beach," like a madman. And that voice, so grating and yet so familiar. Holy shit, it's Pinto Colvig, the original voice of Goofy. It's not the same pitch, but it's him. It's just hearing that voice from a character other than Goofy is just sort of odd. He runs back to Hobbiton at flashlight speeds. We get this great little sight gag where he generates enough wind to blow out the fire in the street lamps. He runs all the way to the castle where he interrupts the king in the middle of the rehearsal dinner for Princess Glory of Littleput and Prince David of Bluefiskew. That's the kingdom on the other side of the puddle. The two kings are old buddies. They hoped their kid would hit it off, and what do you know, they've fallen in love. A procession of servants marches in with the floral arrangements, the presents, the rings, and the cake. The kings assess them all. Princess Glory has somehow gone from being a blonde to a redhead. I know people who call that artificial intelligence. The kings cry at the beauty of it, until they get to what's supposed to be the couple's first dance as husband and wife. The king of Littleput wants his song. The king of Bluefiskew wants his. It starts as an argument, becomes a fight, and decide the only way to settle it is war. You know, guys, there is a thing called rock, paper, scissors. Just saying. Gabby tells the king about the giant, but he gets ignored. The king is still worried about, and this is just a guess here, the war. Meanwhile, Glory is turned back into a blonde. Too bad. I realize I'm 17 minutes into this movie and there's not a lot of Gulliver in Gulliver's Travels. But the music is good, and the old-timey animation is great, so I don't give a damn. Though it is indicative of pacing problems to come. Gabby goes on and on about the giant, and the king tells him to shut the fuck up. He's got a war to plan, and he needs a secret weapon the Bluefiskewian spies don't know about. And Gabby says, "You mean like that giant on the beach that the Bluefiskewian spies don't know is there?" The king agrees to send a search party. Gabby leads everyone out to where he found the giant. It's a well-crafted sequence where no one notices anything. At least, not until the person standing right on Gulliver's heart starts going up and down and up and down and up and down. Gulliver starts breathing hard and snoring. You know, they should be glad he didn't get pneumonia or something out in those icy cold waters. One sneeze would be like Hurricane Katrina to these little guys. This gets us to the most famous part of the movie. The Lilliputians building some widgets and wheels and tying Gulliver to the pulley system so they can drag him to the king. The scoring here was really good, and the animation is a technical marvel. Especially given that Disney had 4 years to make Snow White. Fleischer was playing catch-up. They got this sucker out in 18 months. No one knew if this feature-length animation thing was going to catch on, and they wanted to be sure Gulliver would be in theaters before Walt Disney's Pinocchio. There's just one little Lilliputian tick-sized problem. This scene goes on for 15 minutes. It's the animation equivalent of that docking sequence from Star Trek The Motion Picture. You could cut 10 minutes off of it, and the story wouldn't lose all that much. People might have gotten pissed that it was only a 72-minute movie, but what are you gonna do? Once they haul Gulliver to the village, the king wants to see him. Gabby says he won't fit in the castle. The king thinks it's a class thing. Like the giant thinks the Lilliputians aren't good enough. Then he looks outside and runs the shit himself. Meanwhile, Gabby starts looting Gulliver's pockets. He finds some loose change, a pocket watch, and something he's never seen before. A gun. Of course, to the Lilliputians, it's a cannon. The gun's a hair trigger, but it must have belonged to Anton Chekhov at some point. It goes off within 30 seconds of being on screen, destroying some poor guy's house. Gulliver starts stirring, but goes back to sleep. The King of Bluefiskew and his forces show up to attack. Worst snooze alarm ever. Gulliver swats away what he thinks are a bunch of mosquitoes, but they're actually the enemy forces. The Lilliputians start fleeing from Gulliver too, but when you look at all the destruction he caused, can you blame them? The first thing Gulliver does is grab Gabby. He wants to know what's going on. Gabby tells him to go ask the king. Gulliver puts him down and then goes for the dope with the crown. He assumes that must be the guy in charge. I made that mistake once, and they haven't let me go back for a whopper since. The king gets pissed at Gulliver. He smashed half the village getting out of those restraints. But man, if you didn't want your weapon of mass destruction unleashing their full force on your own people, maybe you shouldn't have put it in the center of town. But nope, these villagers are a bunch of s***s. They don't even say thank you. Gulliver assures them he means them no harm. The king takes this to mean that he's on their side and holds a ticker tape parade. The Lilliputians get Gulliver ready for a royal banquet. A mani-pedi, a bath, a shave, the whole 9 yards. It's another padding sequence that maybe goes on a little bit too long, but it's not egregious as the police stuff. Plus, the shaving bit is hilarious. The King of Bluefiskew wants to capture or kill Gulliver. He wants to get word to his spies, but he can't exactly send war plans UPS. So he does the next best thing, the world's dumbest bird. The dinner scene is our first real chance to see Gulliver interact directly with the Lilliputians. I didn't even know it was possible to get Uncanny Valley in a hand-drawn 2D animated film. Bravo! They have a huge celebratory dinner, and Gulliver is the worst kind of guest. One meal for him was enough for all of Lilliput for a week. He'd make a horrible secret weapon. They'd all starve to death if they kept him around for more than a day and a half. They thank Gulliver for saving them and tell them how thankful they are that he's their new friend. They're gonna need that friendship if the Bluefiskewians ever come back, and they're pretty sure that's gonna happen. Gulliver really gets into the music. His attempt at dancing caused mayhem. Even the spies start dancing, and wait, aren't they supposed to be plotting an assassination? Everyone in the village is heading for bed. Gulliver tucks them in. He decides to stay up a little later to keep watch. He stares out at the stars, smokes his pipe wistfully, and sings a song about how much he misses his old life. He wakes up the next morning and whittles the Lilliputians a new boat. Gabby's there doing that comic relief thing. Gulliver and Gabby tell each other silly stories and play a rhyming game just to keep Gulliver from getting bored. The spies steal the cannon, gun. They try to kill Gulliver, but Gabby's presence screws that up, so I guess he's good for something after all. But their plan isn't totally f***ed. Gulliver doesn't even notice. The spies write back reporting the results. The King of Bluefiskew decides to send them new battle plans. But I guess my remark about that bird being the island's version of UPS wasn't that far off. 1 out of 3 times, it gets lost. Prince David sneaks out of his father's castle and over to the Lilliputian castle. The poor fool is still in love with Glory even though she's no longer a redhead. He knocks out a few of the palace guards only to be spotted by Gulliver. He's about to raise the alarm, but he sees the way the princess looks at him, and the way he looks at her, and the songs they sing, and realizes something weird is going on. And then he finds out the real reason for the war, and he thinks both sides are being really dumb. They should just sing their songs together. The bird drops the note, and Gabby finds it. He now knows the new battle plans and that Gulliver's life is in danger. The fact that Prince David is over at the Lilliputian Castle changes nothing. The King of Blue Fiskew still wants to go to war. The Lilliputians and Gulliver get ready for war. Prince David and Princess Glory are continuing on with their date as if they're not picnicking a ruler's length away from a war zone. The spies find the bird. They're a little surprised when the war plans aren't there, but they find out Gabby has them, so they grab him and use every form of torture short of Superman 4. But don't they know there will be peace? There will be peace when the people of the world want it so badly that their leaders will have no choice but to give it to them. I gotta hand this to Gabby. He might be a doofus, but he's loyal to a fault. He doesn't spill his guts. The Blue Fiskudians arrive by land and sea. Gulliver charges them. Their arrows and cannonballs are more like mosquitoes to him, so with one swipe he decimates their entire fleet. But he's horrified at what he's done. He grabs each and every one of them and stops them from drowning. The spies also have their own little pulley system, one designed to fire Gulliver's gun right at him.
Princess Glory, still not a redhead, notices this.
So Prince David goes down to try to deflect the shot. He doesn't think the spies will fire on their own prince. Prince David is noble. Prince David is what you'd call a fucking moron. He does manage to make their shot miss, but it knocks Prince David off of an anthill. But for him, that's a 100-foot drop. He falls to his death. Gulliver tells both sides what awful people he thinks they are. They could have had something beautiful. Instead, they chose this insanity. They should be fucking ashamed of themselves. Gulliver picks up David's body. He instructs Glory to sing the new song, the one built from the pieces of the old ones. They were both good songs on their own, but the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. It turns out David is only half dead. The new song brings him back to life. Peace is achieved. He and Glory get married. Both kingdoms combine their resources to build a new boat for Gulliver, and so the mule Gulliver finds himself leaping from life to life, hoping that the next leap will be the leap home. The end. Oh, now can I go?
Your verdict?
Oh, right.
Yes!
This is an early Fleischer Brothers cartoon. Regardless of anything else you say about it, it looks amazing. I almost wish I had a cleaner print. While the story has been told on film many times since, this is one of the better adaptations, even with this asshat added for no reason. It is the most famous film adaptation of the story for a reason. Yeah, there are some pacing issues, it feels more like a 90-minute movie than a 77-minute one, but it is a groundbreaking work for anyone who's a fan of animation. Now excuse me, I'm gonna skedaddle.
Well,
Why not?
you'll have to ask him.
Him, who? Oh, Assuming I survive this, our next movie will be Captain America 1979, starring, Red Brown. Not really, yeah. Yeah, we're doing Captain America, but you, can't say anything. Ow, stars Red Brown. If you want to support this channel, geez, somebody get a doctor. Go to, patreon.com/parodyerrorfilms.